right now, I think the hurdle for me right this second is age. I think that's such a big thing when I'm trying to pitch to bigger businesses, even though I've got the skills. Everyone in the team's older than me. Yeah. Everyone's older than me. I'm the youngest one in the business. I own it. I think that is a really hard thing because they want to speak to the owner, but when they find out the owner's the same age as their kids, they go, oh, they get taken aback a little bit.
Testing. Right, everybody, today we've got Ryan Birch on, who's a social media expert. What we're going to be talking about is his kind of trials and tribulations through business and really how he battles with the fact that he is so young in business and he feels like that's going to hold him back, but I would totally disagree with that. So if you want to learn a little bit more about Ryan and his business, stay tuned, stick around, watch this video and don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it now. Right, we're here today with Ryan Birch. Ryan Birch from what was previously Mr. Media Agency Limited, but has recently rebranded Double Media. And we're going to be looking at Ryan's sort of goals, I suppose, over the next 5 to 10 years, and immediate goals as well, and then some of the challenges that he might feel that he's going to encounter on that journey. So before we begin, tell us a little bit about, I suppose, about Mr. Media Agency and then how you've morphed into Double Media now.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I started all of this when I was 16. Initially, I started freelance by myself. It was all me. Hence why I started with Mr. Media Agency, because it was a bloke doing media. Yeah. That was all it was, to be honest. Started working with some good clients, did a lot of freelance, got a lot of work from another agency, some really big clients. We worked with Anthony Joshua as an example, some really big names. But I found there was more that I wanted to do than work for another company all of the time, getting all of their work. Yeah. So to be honest, did loads of networking, built the work up, and now, we're a fully fledged marketing agency. Now we've rebranded. Just because purely Mr. Media Agency sounds very male orientated. Yeah. And it sounds like it's just me still. Yeah. But it's no longer just me. We've got a little team now. Which I think very nice.
How many are you up to team wise?
7 at the moment. Yeah, it's getting there.
And for the audience, the principal business is content creation, social media type posts and things like that.
We've got a lot of focus on ads now, weirdly. So we initially started off just doing, we manage your social media, we get your posts out there. Yeah. And now it's more, we're going to launch marketing campaigns for businesses on Facebook, Google, Instagram, all of that.
Okay. Yeah. And the kind of group structure, the Double Media is like the parent company or the Double Media group or whatever. Yeah. And then underneath that, you've got a couple of limited companies or something.
Yeah. So we're going to launch an academy. Yeah. That's going to be coming under before the end of the year. So that'll be for really small businesses who can't necessarily or don't want to afford the budget to employ a marketing agency to do it. They'll get the resources, they'll get the teachings, everything in one place. Okay. We're launching that, and we're launching our own podcast, which we've done the first episode, launching that through, which is Doing Double podcast. So we're trying to keep it really on brand with Double. Yeah. That's the plan.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So we're leaping in into your kind of 1 to 5 year goals in a minute or whatever. But a question I always like to ask all the podcast guests is, what were you? I know it probably wasn't that long ago for you because you're fairly fresh faced. But what were you like at school? So that kind of 10 to, I suppose, leaving school, that 16-year-old Ryan.
Oh, I think because I wasn't in my shell, but I wasn't the most outgoing person. I was friends with all the people who you would class as popular, but I was also friends with the people who you would class as less popular. With it, I was sat more in the middle,
sitting on the fence.
Exactly. I was naturally quite smart. It sounds quite big-headed, but I was a bit smarter than somebody because I didn't really learn until I didn't put the effort in to keep learning. If that makes sense, I knew when I hit 14, I was like, I don't really want to be here. I think the education system almost pushed you down a path that I didn't necessarily want to take. Yeah. So I branched off more by myself. I was quite an independent thinker, more or less, with the one who knew what I wanted to do from quite a young age, which I guess is a blessing, really, because I know so many people that are still in my age bracket that don't really know what they want to do, which is absolutely fine. I was just a bit more gifted because I did. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I think when you go to school and stuff, it's kind of like there are like sort of few people that kind of you either sit on the fence or you're with the popular kids or you're not or whatever. And I guess that kind of like pans out how you kind of see your adulthood, really. I know, obviously, as I said, you're fairly fresh faced, so, but yeah, and I find like quite a lot of the time, like a lot of people will come on the show, they're not perhaps had all like the A star or whatever. I don't know what the gradings are nowadays. They were
numbers
like,
now.
Numbers now. But when I was doing my GCSEs, it was like A star was like the best thing. And I find very, very rarely that entrepreneurs or anybody in business have actually gone through that and had like those top marks. They don't tend to lend themselves like the correlation between them, I suppose.
It's crazy though.
Yeah.
It's strange.
I think it's just because mainstream school doesn't really cater for that kind of entrepreneurial spirit. I know they have like business management, but they don't teach you about like finance and managing cash flow and stuff like that. Financial literacy is not taught in schools. You know, and I don't think that kind of entrepreneurial journey is really particularly taught in schools. You're very much taught to go and get a job and do this and get good grades and you'll get a job. So
no, completely agree. I think they feed you into that. Yeah. The system with it always, right? You've got to go to uni. Yeah. You've got to go get your degree. You've got to go get a job. Yeah. Buy a house. Have kids. Yeah. Retire.
White picket fence.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, indeed. Right. Well, we'll leap on into your kind of your goals, I suppose. So you've got the questions 1 year from now. What are your goals 3 to 5 years, and then more longer term 10 years. Yeah. So year one, you've got have 200 clients and 12 members of staff. So I guess you're kind of heading in that sort of direction. How are you gonna? What's the sort of plan to get to that, I suppose?
Yeah, I think the podcast is going to come big into that side of things. I think the main thing at the moment is build a personal brand, build something that people trust me and not just a business with it, similar to how you're position yourself with it. Build a personal brand, get fairly big on YouTube. It's the aim with it. YouTube is almost, it's the golden egg with all of this. It really is. So that's part of the plan with it all, is to really hit YouTube heavy, but then the podcast is going to feed into that so much as well, getting really good guests on to show that we're not just a marketing agency. We're a company that cares about people. We've got a good network. We introduce people to one another. We become more connected as well with it. I think all of that will enable us to take the next step to bring, number one, bigger clients, to then have bigger budgets, to have a bigger team, to then build bigger clients. Yeah.
What's the correlation on the show, if you like, between having a big guest, so say you have Anthony Joshua on or whatever, and they're talking about boxing or something or whatever. It's boxer, isn't it?
Boxing.
At least I got that one right. How's that? How do you feel that that's going to then lead into perhaps someone saying, "Oh, I'd like to use you to do my social media, for instance, or whatever"? What's the correlation between that?
Yeah, I think it's more trust. More than anything else, it's the credibility side of things. So, right, if we're going to start speaking to new clients and then they're going to do a little bit of a background check on us, they can see, right, this is what sort of caliber work they do. This is the sort of caliber networks they're in. I think it's more showing that we're in that patch. We're within those people. I think that's going to be the main thing, is the trust, the credibility. It won't directly get sales, I don't think, but I think it will boost sales.
Yeah. Do you think the other content is going to lead to the sales as well? Because then you'll see the other content, I think, because that's like, I think very much with this kind of space, the podcast space is you're a bit of a fool if you think you can make money. You can get very lucky. I mean, like Diary of CEO, Stephen Bartlett and that, they've got very lucky because they've got that kind of big network of people. People like their retention rates. The videos are very, very long, like 2 hours, some of them, and people will watch them because they're like more like a chat show, and they've replaced your traditional kind of Jonathan Ross chat show style thing, because that's where people want to watch things. But they're obviously going to make money because of the volume of stuff and the advertising and the revenue. But I think for most people that go into that space, it is a tool to lead you to the other things. So you have to be a little bit careful that you kind of don't put loads of effort into it, but it has to have that focus on the other bits as well.
I think so. I don't think it's a sales push. I don't think you're going to get work out of it directly. But I think just the status and credibility and everything you build up off of that I think it's invaluable.
Yeah, definitely. I think the kind of me factor, the validity of yourself is really important. You just have to kind of make sure that you capitalize that and make sure that it is actually returning into a monetary sense. Otherwise, obviously, that it will be hard to kind of grow from there, really. I mean, for us, really, it's about when I do acquisitions and looking at growth, new members of staff that want to come and work for us, and they can see all those things. So it's that is what I use it as a tool for, as opposed to thinking like, I'm going to get this channel big enough. It's never going to be, I mean, I would be happy if it ever got to like a monetization type levels. Whether we bothered with monetizing it or not, I don't know. But I think in all reality, to get there is a lot of hard work and probably achieve very little. I mean, some of the bigger channels that we compete with that have got 60, 70,000 subscribers, they're probably turning over £500 to £700 a month in a profit. It's not really about that, is it?
No, I think it's what you get off the back of it. It's what the people see and what they perceive. It's you'll know as good as I do. It's all about perception of how people see you.
It is definitely.
You can bring on.
So moving on to your kind of more 3 to 5 year goals, I suppose. So you have a media group rather than one company and a variety of new proven services. So obviously you're on that journey already. Maybe do you feel like, because you've got your 1 year goal of this and then your 3 year goals, where do you feel you're kind of leaping forward a little bit with the double media group style thing? But I guess the variety of services, what do you envisage that being then?
I think it's more moving into a side of things more designing. If that's even a word, with it more graphic design side of things. Because at the moment, we do a lot of design work in-house, but we never push it. It's nothing we ever push as such, and it's something we almost right now push it all to another company who specialise in graphic design. If I could do that within the group, I think it would keep all the services under one hat. With it, we'll have an academy for smaller businesses. We'll have double media for your performance marketing, social media management, and we'll branch out into a bit more graphic design, doing all of that stuff, potentially moving a bit into print as well could be a possibility with it. Just different avenues, so that when a client comes to us, they almost get brought in like a family, and they know, right, every single person within this little family can help us.
I think that's it's a good avenue to go down. I would definitely be looking at expanding your offering. I'm not so sure about print. I think you could probably always outsource that, but definitely from a digital aspect, because I think the thing is with this space, it's quite crowded, as I'm sure you probably are aware. So you really need to kind of stand out. And if you can get those bigger clients and those really, really big businesses that you'll work with, they don't want to have somebody that does Facebook, somebody that does Instagram, someone that does the podcast or whatever. They want to be able to come to one company and do that. The danger that I've seen with it is that you get that big contract and that customer's making up like 50% of your income. So that's like a real thing that you need to watch out with, especially as you're growing, that you're diluting that customer down all the time. It's really like everyone gets really excited when they get that big customer and you go, right, I've got my 12-10 meeting, my staff and the rest of it, and I've hit my goals. But then they go, oh, do you know what, we've hit on hard times, we're cutting everything back, and then you've suddenly lost half your business.
That's the risk with it all when you rely on a big fish. With it all, I've always been told and taught, right, if you get one big fish, have 12 little fish that make up near enough the same amount as that big one, because if that big one goes, such a big hit.
You don't really want anybody making up more than about 10% of your cash flow, because if they go, then you're going to have to make some very quick decisions. And I'd just be wary of that as you grow. It's quite easy to fall into that trap. I mean, we've got one of our businesses has got a customer that makes up a really large percentage of our business, and we are literally trying to acquire another business to help dilute that business and so on. So it's an ongoing task, and then you do a good job and they want to give you more. So then you've like undone the dilution. And you almost become, I wouldn't say like a slave, but you're very beholden to that person or that company. So as you grow, I think those are the kind of companies that you need to attract, that want all of those services. And I think that, when you get to that kind of 12 members and you've got a good team, 12 is a funny size really, because it generally doesn't lend itself to having like a team manager and the rest of it. You need to probably get to about 20, I would say. And then you might have like an office manager and then like someone down from you as CEO or whatever. But once somebody in the business needs to be that business development manager, which is really a weird title, because you're like, I'm not sure what you're doing. You're not creating content. You're not sitting in the podcast videos. You're not the face of it but you are the person going out and getting all of those leads in those big companies and making sure they stay with you as well. Yeah. So probably at your kind of 20 to 25, I'd say that's when you would have like a structure. You might have into departments and then somebody overseeing that and doing the business development management. Yeah. It's quite a sort of, you can read it online and that. There's loads of bits about like kind of businesses that get stuck about 12. It's like kind of a nice boutique business, but then to go to the next stage up, it's where you get to kind of 20, 25 staff, and then you're like 50 and then 100 and so on. So, and I think I read a statistic that it's literally only about 2% of businesses that get more than about something like 15 members of staff. And then the ones that go up from like 50 is literally like points of percent. Wow. Yeah. There are something like only about 8,000 businesses in the UK that employ more than 50 people, which is mental, isn't it?
Wow.
Because there's so many businesses that never get beyond like 1 or 2 employees, and loads of sole traders as well. So no one ever gets to that level, if you like. So you're like almost, when you get to that level, you're like a little bit protected. Like you've got a kind of a force field around you. Like because you're that size, people will then come to you. They trust you through the media, but they also trust you through the size. You've obviously not a fly by night. You're not going to disappear. You're not too small to kind of just, not cope with the requirements as the business grows.
Yeah. Makes complete sense. I think it's a tricky number.
Yeah.
I don't want to be sat there too long.
No.
It's always
definitely
middle of the wave almost. You've got to cross the other side as quick as you humanly can.
Yes.
You don't want to get stuck there.
It's really hard, and I think as you go through this journey, because I think you can do it, and you've got the skill set and the entrepreneurial drive to do it. But I definitely say, you're going to go through stages where you employ people before you can afford them.
Yeah.
You're going to end up probably earning less than some of your people. You're going to have to pay people more than what you take out of the business because they're the right person to get in. And that's going to be a really hard kind of journey for you to go on. But I think it's a journey that's worthwhile. And you get to the point where you are only working on the business and you're the face of it in the podcast and the rest of it. As time goes by, you'll have to figure out probably a way of you not being necessarily the face of it as time goes on. Obviously, you're young at the moment, so that's probably not even a 10-year goal of that. But obviously, as you see with any business where the founder or the owner, you have your Steve Jobs effect, if you like. Like, obviously, he's passed away, but at some point, it has to be handed down to somebody. And that's when all the contacts start falling apart, isn't it? Because they're like, well, I did business with Steve, not with Tim Cook, for instance. I know that's like a massive example, but it's a prevalent one, though, isn't it? You imagine Elon Musk retired or just stepped down as CEO from Tesla, the stock share price is going to go down, and then people are going to wonder if this new person has got what it takes to be that kind of entrepreneurial, flamboyant person that he's become known as.
You've got to be the owner. Weirdly, you've got to almost have another owner come in who's the same as you, which is tricky. Very tricky to find.
And to be fair to Steve, he probably did an all right job of introducing Tim into the system. We've grown up in an era where he's done very well for himself, but there would have definitely been a time where the markets, customers, and that would have been wondering if this is the end of, not the end of Apple, but the end of like this massive growth period, or the style and the ethos of the business that Steve has kind of inflicted on it.
Yeah, just a different person.
Yeah, exactly.
Different personality.
So I don't know, you haven't put down what the 10-year goals are, but presumably it's kind of feels a bit too far in the future. Yeah. But I would always say that people kind of underestimate what they can achieve in a year or two, but overestimate in a year and underestimate in 10 years.
Yeah.
So I think like in a 10-year period, if you really put your effort into this, then you can grow it. It's just, it will be fraught with a lot of competition because it's a saturated market, lots of people doing podcasts and in this space. So offering that big overall, kind of offering to companies and trying to aim at those bigger companies. If you can get your feet in the door somehow with those, then I think that would be quite beneficial. So what do you think your kind of hurdles are going to be getting to that kind of, I don't know, you've got 12 members in year one, but let's say you're going to get to your kind of 25, 30 members of staff in the future. What are going to be your hurdles between now and then?
It's a tricky one. It's trying to predict what's going to go wrong. I think right now, the hurdle for me right this second is age. I think that's such a big thing when I'm trying to pitch to bigger businesses, even though I've got the skills. Everyone in the team is older than me. Yeah. Everyone's older than me. I'm the youngest one in the business. And I own it. I think that is a really hard thing because they want to speak to the owner, but when they find out the owner's the same age as their kids, they go, oh, they get taken aback a little bit. That's the issue right now.
How do they find out that you're the same age as their kids? Is it just because they look at you, or is because they ask?
They literally ask, they go, Ryan, how old are you? And when I start to go, oh, you're the same age as my kids. Which I always find fascinating. There's one, either people really love it, love it, or the more traditional business owner hates it. It's one of the two. I think I'll overcome that in the years to come on. I'll get older, I'll mature a bit more, but I think as a hurdle that's probably going to come up, it's going to be right. There's so many people that do this. So many people that are coming into this industry
just
now.
Back to the age thing.
What do you think?
I think you're right that people do feel like that, but there are lots of ways around it. So I hope you're really enjoying today's content, and we're just about to get into some really, really meaty stuff. So just stick around. But what I wanted to do is just quickly tell you about how you can get on the show. If you head on over to our website, that's www.matthewcox, that's Matthew with 2 T's, .biz. Scroll down there, you can see all our back catalogue of videos and all the rest of it. But what you can also do is apply to be on this show. So you can be here sitting with me like Ryan is today and literally just going through his portfolio, his kind of what his plans are and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to get on the show, head on over to the website, fill the form in, apply. We'll get back to you and you'll be on the show here and getting some valuable advice and really having a nice little friendly chat like two mates down the pub, just trying to put the worlds to right. Yeah, so literally with Charles Cox, I used that so that it sounded like there was like a long linear of people behind me. Charles is my middle name, so if you don't know. Literally, like I was like, if I use that, then people are going to see or believe that there's, at least like it was my dad or my granddad or something like that. Because I was probably, what would I have been, like mid-20s when I set up. So fairly young still. And I'm looking after like the block management side of it. Obviously, you're often looking after quite a lot of pooled together money. So, within a short period of time, I'm looking after like £500,000 worth of service charge money on behalf of people. So when you go to pitch for some business and you're like, oh, hi, I'm only like 24 years old or something like that.
It's tricky.
It is tricky. But what I did was I pulled upon the factors that I had that could, back up that I was previously a partner at another business, that I actually was involved in block management. So like with the property cycle. So I wasn't just like going to come in and manage your business. I actually have my own properties that I've kind of enfranchised and I'd purchased, developed, done up, managed, and I understand about mortgages, assets and all that kind of stuff. So that they were like, oh, actually, you might be quite young, but you've got this breadth of knowledge. One thing I did, I don't know if you're able to or not because you're freshly shaven, but I grew this beard initially because I wanted to make myself look a bit older. I used to wear glasses on purpose to meetings, even though they had lenses in them that had like nothing on them. And I would wear clothes that perhaps were, obviously it's a work environment, so you wear shirts and stuff anyway, but I'd always wear stuff that like, an older person might wear. So if I was like, say, going to a site visit and I thought I might be seen by a client or something, I'd always make sure I had like a shirt on, and then I'd have like the sleeveless gilet pullover type thing, which maybe
Nice.
I always thought, oh, you look a bit like a farmer or something. But it actually made me look a bit older than perhaps I otherwise was. And talking with confidence as well, like literally, if you kind of, I don't know, stutter with your stuff, or if someone asks you a question and you don't know the answer to it, especially when you're going for a new pitch, I've always like tried to pride myself on like literally having the answer to everything, even if the answer isn't really the answer and it's a bit of a politician's answer. I never ever say, oh, I don't know, let me go and find out. I literally, you could ask me pretty much anything and I would find a way of answering it, even if it wasn't quite answering it, because I didn't really, it was a piece of legislation, for instance, I couldn't remember what clause it was. I would be like, I know there's a piece of legislation, I think it's this, this and this, but I can look it up, but the number's rather irrelevant. It means this, so I talk with such confidence that I think people kind of looked over that age thing as well. And then, look at stats as well. Like you can say, look, these are the type of clients that I've worked with and the rest of it. And then all of that kind of perceived thing that you're young all sort of washes away. But yeah, definitely. I think if you can't grow a beard, try the glasses. You can't force that. Try the glasses with no prescription in them.
I need it. I've got contacts.
Oh, you got contacts.
I should just.
I think people just think that I don't know. Like for me personally, it made me look older, I thought, and there was some impact to it. Even my profile picture on my own website, at the very beginning, it was me with a tie on, with glasses, and I like combed my hair in a style that wasn't like of a younger person. So that I looked older than I was, even when you're looking on the website.
Smart.
So I tried to do that, just to create that image. The Charles Cox thing, obviously, that was always like, not, I never pretended there was a Charles, but, people would just make the assumption that, it was a business that had been established for a long time. Obviously they could just go in company's house and find out that it was not that old, but people didn't bother to do that. So I think there are ways around it. Speak confidently, try and your image, if you like, your glasses and stuff, whatever you feel is going to make you look a little bit older, I suppose, and talk with confidence in those meetings, really.
Okay. I'll try to grow that beard.
The beard's hard if you can't grow it, but definitely the glasses and what you wear to meetings as well will give across that image. Anything else that you think is going to be hard on that journey to, getting your kind of 25, 30 staff?
I think not difficult. I think it can be overcome with it. I think it's a lot of it's brand image. When you start getting to a certain point where you think, damn, we need more staff on. We need to justify having that number of staff on to handle this number of projects. I think that's going to be tricky to juggle just because obviously we're pitching for bigger stuff. Now, we want those bigger retainers with clients and we can help them a bit more. I think the struggle there is going to be if we lose one for whatever reason, that's a big hit on it. How would you overcome that?
So I would, I think as we touched on earlier, make sure that you always diversify and you make sure that you don't end up with a client that is making up more than 10% of your business. If you do, because time to time you're going to take on a big project and they're going to end up making up 35% of your business. Your job is to make sure they don't leave to some degree, but it was also to have the right team around you so that you can leave them with the team and they're doing their job. And your job is to go and find those extra customers that will dilute that 35%. So to continue growing the business. Always make sure that you understand employment law so that if you end up in a position where you lose a big client, you can act quickly because you'll be chewing through your cash reserves trying to grow your business. So you might not have that big pile of money to sit on and be like, right, we've lost this big client, but we've got time to make a decision because we can afford to lose a little bit of money. We don't want to let Fred go because he's a really good member of staff, and Susan's been here a while as well. So you can then have a think about it. You're not always open to that luxurious time, especially if you're spending money that you kind of I won't say haven't got, but you're employing people for the next job up and the rest of it. And then all of a sudden you lose that big client. Make sure you understand employment law so that you can say to people that unfortunately it hasn't panned out or you haven't passed your probation, whatever. And try if you can to hold on to those good people, because if you're good at building back your business, you'll find another client to do that.
Yeah.
A way around it is to build up that reserve fund. But I find historically, as you're trying to grow a business, you're chewing through cash and you may not have that money to fall back on because you're investing it all the time.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of fine balance between them, I think. Managing big clients, also make sure that you just have that open relationship with them as well. It is inherently difficult as you grow to be the face of the business without people thinking they're doing business with you. So they'll be doing business with your staff.
Yeah.
But then when they're not happy with their staff, don't be surprised when they get grumpy and they haven't come to you. Because people's human nature is that they're just like, oh, I'm not happy. And now I'm thinking of leaving. I'm going to go and tell Ryan.
Yep.
And you're like, how do we get from like happy to I'm going? And I didn't know about anything in between. So it's good to have at least somebody touching base with them that's independent from the team that's working with them and independent from yourself. Just ring them up every now and then and going, how are we doing? All that sort of stuff, especially as a media agency. I think people kind of like really expect that. It is hard. I have this all the time. I go and pitch for business and then people think they're dealing with me as the CEO. And then they're dealing with the staff and then they don't tell me when there are issues, or they don't even go to like the head of the department, and then it reaches like a breaking point. So something we're implementing now is to have like regular touch points, deal with buyer's remorse as well, by maybe sending them something nice like a box of chocolates or something after they've signed up or whatever. And the other thing to do is make sure that they're tied in on contracts, so that if they do need to leave, it's a two-way relationship at the end of the day. They're going to commit to you, and marketing of any nature is not a sort of thing you can just like go, I'm going to chuck a little bit of money at this, run it for a month and see if it returns anything. It's got to be explained to people as a long-term commitment. And on that basis, that's why you have to give 90 days notice or 6 months or whatever it is in order to exit out of your thing. That will give you your thinking time whilst you don't have your big buffer.
I think that's probably one of the most important bits of business I had to learn very quick. Is managing people's expectations. I think as soon as you start over-promising and under-delivering, even if you're getting great results still, if it's not quite what they're wanting, what you said, they're gone. Straight away. I think that is probably one of the hardest bits of business, weirdly, is managing people.
Marketing is a very fickle industry from the other side, the business owner side, because most people don't understand it. They don't have the skill set to do it. You'll be dealing with a lot of businesses of 12 and less employees where they feel like they can manage their social media themselves, but they've got to a point where they want to go the next level. They give it to you. They'll like, now we've outsourced it, they're going to get instant results in it. And it can take, it can take years. We didn't really fully smash into our marketing till like in the middle of the pandemic, the first one. And we've had like 3 or 4 different versions of our website. We're constantly tinkering with it. We've probably if you'd have said to me in 2017, you'd have spent, 40,000-50,000 pounds a year on marketing, website development and the rest of it, I'd have thought you were off your chop. That's like literally just that's not the salaries. That's like literally the money that we spend on buying bits of plug-in software and all that kind of stuff to get it going.
It doesn't surprise me. It really doesn't. I think it's so important.
But you're talking to me in 2017 when there were like 9 members of staff here, and that business owner is quite hard to convince that they need to make constant tweaks to their website and all that kind of stuff. But and I think, as I say, offering those big, the bolt-ons as well to things will help you kind of weather those storms as well. Because you might find that they go, look, we're going to take social media in-house, but we want you to carry on doing our website or our podcasting, or we'll come and rent the studio from you, or whatever it might be. So.
Gives your foot in the door.
Exactly. So any other sort of hurdles, do you think? So we've got obviously overcome the age, hopefully, and then the kind of loss of bigger clients, if you like. But think big and try to kind of plough on through the bigger client lossage if you ever do experience that.
I think it's inevitable. One day you'll come across somebody who loses some money in various areas of business and marketing. Sadly, is always the first to get the cut with it all, which is tricky.
It is. It's definitely. It's funny, really, because you enter into a recessionary time, and I know Warren Buffett always says, like, be fearful when others are, investing or whatever. I don't know what the actual phrase was. It's basically like when everyone's fearful, that's the time when you should be bullish.
Yeah.
And when everyone's being bullish, that's when you should be fearful.
Yeah.
That's not quite the right phrase, but I'm sure I butchered that.
I'll get the point.
So like, it's funny, I always think, because you go into like a recession or like something happens and then everyone cuts their marketing spend. But that is the time where, because everybody's cutting it, it's probably a good time to go in. You get things for cheap anyway, and then you can make it look like you're still established and you're still ticking along and everybody's happy, and you'll then probably get a share of the market that,
that's when we grew the most in the pandemic.
Yeah.
That's when we had the biggest spark of growth.
Yeah.
We lost a lot of customers that were sort of like service-based and companies like that. The amount of e-commerce companies that we worked with in that period was insane, that we still work with to this day. I think there's good and there's bad to that side of things, because some businesses thrive on the bad. It's the same as like, a dentist doesn't want you to have good teeth because they don't have a business.
No.
A doctor doesn't want you to be healthy because they don't have any work or any people in there. They won't get the funding. So it's the same with businesses. Exactly the same principle, I find.
I think marketing should be a bit like dentistry in that sense, because with dentistry, it's like, although you fix people's teeth and the rest of it, they go out and they trash them because they eat the wrong foods and they don't brush their teeth and look after them. But then you've always got a steady, clientele from younger people, at the end of the scale, it's like a conveyor belt, really, isn't it? People are always going to have their teeth checked and the rest of it. So it's a lovely continuing type business. That's why you don't see many dentistries going bust, because once they've got their clientele, they charge, fair whack for what they're doing.
Yeah.
I know they have to go and train before someone slates me in the comments, but they have to train for a long time, but it is expensive. It's a good profit margin. But the model of dentistry is you are stuck in the business. You're the dentist. Like, how do you grow that from there? So you don't generally see big chains of dentistries or whatever. It's always the local ones and so on. So they're good lifestyle businesses because they get fed, but they are hard to scale to any decent size. And I think marketing is a little bit like that, in the sense that like the marketing campaigns keep rolling if you get the right type of customer. But if you get the customer that doesn't regard brushing their teeth properly or flossing in between, they're not the kind of customer that they're the ones that will be fickle. They're the ones that will cut back straight away as soon as you get into the pandemic. The ones that are quite happy and realise the benefit of it are the ones that you want.
I think it's almost the part where we have to educate them. Weirdly, like right, this is what marketing does. This is how it works. And this is why it benefits your business. It's education tool, especially when it's something like social media, for example, because it's new. It's not been around the block for ages, and some more traditional businesses are still doing traditional forms of marketing, whereas social media is a bit more new. You've got your Facebook ads, your Google ads. Imagine explaining that to somebody who's run a business for 60 odd years, and they're going, what the hell is this?
Exactly. It's exactly that. But I think that's where you can cut into your like disadvantage of your age by kind of actually justifying that, because I would sit there. I'm probably slightly unique. I don't have such a bias as most people. I do understand what you're saying there. But I think if you're sitting in the meeting and you go, okay, this guy's quite young. I mean, I know Brandon, who came on a few weeks ago. I remember the first time I met him, I assumed he'd been sent by the business owner because he was so young. He was only like 18 at the time or whatever. But actually within a very short period of time, the confidence that he talked and the understanding of what he particularly does completely washed away any sort of feeling of like you're young and inexperienced. And I think that's really where you would go with that. And you talk a lot about the industry and stuff, and literally how much information you can give and justification for doing stuff. I think that's going to help you.
I could speak forever. I could speak forever on it.
But I think that's where people trust you and will buy into you, and that age thing will disappear.
Over time, when they see not just the face value, but I think face value is hard to overcome that. Sometimes you grow big, glasses on, you do that side of things, but I think you win them over by actually speaking to them and showing, right, this is how much I know without saying, this is how much I know. Just speaking fluently and professionally and presenting yourself in the right manner. Because if I was sitting here hunched over, you think,
Or you go into a big meeting and you look sweaty-browed and scared because it means a lot to you, that meeting, getting that client. There's nothing wrong with the passion, but it's the ability to stay confident and calm in those situations.
Agree.
Yeah.
Completely.
I don't know if there was anything else you think of, or
not off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Not off the top.
What
of my
about
head.
managing partners' expectations? Do you think that that's going to be a problem as you grow? Because I'm guessing is obviously either yourself at the moment, but as you grow, you've got other people involved in the business and the rest of it. I don't know if you thought about that kind of structure.
There's been thoughts about it. Fairly recently as well with it all. Just because we spoke to a certain individual, I'm not going to mention names with it all, who's just sold his business for multiple 9 figures on it, and he's like, right, I need a new passion. I need a new passion. So I went up, spoke to him in London, had a nice dinner with him, which was great. But then it's the feeling, like, right, am I comfortable giving away a little part of my baby? You know what? Not right now, but in the future, to grow it. Because I think a business is so much stronger when it's not just one person.
I guess it's I suppose there's a difference between like capital investment or retaining the staff that you've got that are with you now and as you grow.
Oh, definitely.
I would, the capital investment from somebody outside, I would try and avoid that. If you can grow it yourself, you are so much better, and they'll make sure that, you know, they've got some element of control. So even if they only own like 20% of the business, they'll make it so in the documents that if you don't perform, then they have the right to take over or something like that. You know, they're going to invest, you know, a fair chunk of money. I'm, in my experience, more the issue that you have is as the company grows, you'll have like your seniors or whatever, and they'll be growing with you, and then they'll suddenly want a piece of the pie, whether it's commission or a share in the company or whatever. And in order to retain them, I think you would be good to think about how in 5 years' time that structure might look to you, so that when they come to you in that development review or whatever it might be and say, you know, I've helped you grow, we've gone from here to here, and I'm still like, my wage is fine, but like I'd like to have some sort of remuneration or something. You can give people like ghost shares in companies, so that you would say like, right, I'll give you 5% of the company. It's not official, like it's not actually a share certificate or whatever, but the document is written in such a manner that when you sell, or if you sell the company, or when you retire, their ghost share is activated into like a real share.
That's quite good.
And it means that you can actually say to them, if you leave, you don't entitle to your ghost share. So therefore you're tying them in with the company. But if you sell it for £1 million and you've given them 5%, they're going to get £50,000 from the sale of the company. And that often will keep people pretty interested, because they know if they want to leave and go somewhere else, they're going to lose that right to cash in their ghost share. You have to add things in there like it's automatically cashed in when I get to 67 or whatever the retirement age is when they're, so that they're not kind of waiting forever for it. If you just choose to work to 100, they might not want to work to 100.
What do you think about, I see lots of companies going employee owned. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you can do that as well. I mean, I don't know. It depends on what your goal is, really. And I think anybody that like makes mega loads of money always builds a business up and then has a liquidity day and sells it. And then they take that money and then invest it or start a new business up and upscale it. So like you'd sell your £1 million and you'd be like, right, what do I want to do next? What were the bits that worked before if I want to stay in the same industry, or do I want to do something different? And take that £1 million and make it into £2 million. And you might find that when you go to sell it for £1 million, you have a management buyout. So they might be able to raise the money internally, which is instead of your salary. So if you're drawing 100 grand, 10% of the business, and you're no longer in the business anymore, they could use that 100 grand to make monthly payments off of a loan and buy you out internally. So management buyout. If you go back right to the very first podcast, which was with Andrew from Tom Sits Deliveries, they just done a management buyout. So they've all collectively grouped together. The CEO was on, I don't know, 100 grand, for instance, and then their loan is 100 grand a year. So for the next 5 years, they probably won't be any better off. They'll probably have a bit more stress and the rest of it, but they can mold the business into whatever direction they see. But they've used a loan to basically fund
That's quite
the,
cool.
the purchase of the business.
Yeah.
It's a management buyout, that. Fairly popular. Obviously, you have to have a good team around you. If you've built a business up of people that are not particularly entrepreneurial, so say they're all left brain, arty, kind of freelancey, that kind of style. They're not perhaps got that entrepreneurial spirit in them. They might find it quite hard with the concept of wanting to own and run a business, because there is difference between being super good at your job, doing the social media stuff, and then actually the dynamics of running a business. So
it's interesting because they always say, don't start a business that you like or you're good at. And I think there's a reason behind that side of things, just because you'll stay as that freelancer because you won't want to let go.
Yeah. Well, that statistic that I had earlier, where so many businesses don't get above like 3 or 4 employees, is because the owner never figures out how to not be just basically one of the employees. And all you've done is created yourself a job. And literally one of the vlogs that we've done recently is about like a coffee shop owner as an example, and the fact that they've set up their coffee shop and they've done that and they're really good, but literally all they've done is created themselves a job. And it's only as they upscale do they actually create themselves a business.
It's tricky to get from point A to point B with that sort of thing, but I tried to do it as quick as I could. As quick as I could, because otherwise you get trapped in
for sure.
cycle with it all.
Brilliant. Well, I think unless you've got any questions for me, I think that's kind of us wrapping up. But unless you've got any quick fire ones.
I think I've asked them all. I might ask you a couple after.
You're welcome to ask them on here. We can always edit them out if they're not appropriate.
If you were in marketing and you had a marketing business, how would you grow it? What would you do?
How would I grow it? I would definitely be looking at trying to get those bigger customers. I would be trying to make sure that we are literally not wrapped up in that whole sea of people who are one-man bands or 2, 3 small employee things. I think in order to actually really grow a marketing business, you have to do it like a scalable way, you have to do it in a big way, which then protects you from all of the people that work at home, because you can't compete with them anymore. You're not in that space. You need to get out of that space and grow the business to that point. That's what I would do. And I would make it my mission to grow the business so that I wasn't just that small boutique marketing agency.
How would you do it? How would you get your first big client?
Well, I would definitely try to make myself look bigger than I actually am. Like, I think you've done the right thing rebranding. I wasn't mad keen on Mr. Media before, if I'm dead honest. Make sure that your website looks really professional. You can do consultancy as well with people. So you might give people only a few hours every week, and therefore you as consultants see if they're happy to come on your website. So when people go on your website, it looks like you've got more staff than you actually have, even though they're all self-employed. Lots of case studies, that kind of stuff. Get yourself on podcasts. Make sure you get yourself, you can wean yourself into those like bigger events and meetings and get yourself in front of the right people who have got money to spend and have got a marketing budget, not talking about the local coffee shop who just wants you to put their posts on the Facebook. You're talking about firms that have got, a remit to spend, 25, 50K a year and then try and scale it up through that. But
that's exactly what we want. But
at all points, making sure you ring fence yourself from that kind of person. Like, you go to lots of networking events, there's always someone that stands up and says, "Hi, I'm Dave and I do social media posts, and I can basically, if you look on my Facebook, if you look on your Facebook account, when was the last time you stuck one up?" And then you look and you go, "Oh, it was October last year." And they go, "Exactly." So like, you're not really doing social media. And there's so many people doing that space, but there's so much more to the market than that.
I'm trying to position it at a different angle. Less social media, more we're a performance marketing agency. That's the angle I'm going with, so we can justify working with the bigger ones rather than saying, "Oh, we do 3 social media posts a week." It's great, but we won't get to bigger ones.
You won't compete in that market.
No chance.
There's so many people doing it. You need to be doing a lot of big campaigns and having a podcast studio and inviting people in to come and do podcasts, but providing it to them, renting it back out, looking at what all the subsidiary bits of income that you can get in. So. So that's what I would be doing.
Noted.
Anything else?
I think that's me done.
That's you done, right?
Okay.
Well, it's been really great having you on, and it'd be super to have you on in a year or so's time, see where you're at, and also, maybe I can get on your show as well.
Come on, you're invited.
Yeah, it'd be good. Yeah, well, speak to Danny and get me booked on, and I'll come on and have a chat, and you can quiz me on my business and my journey.
My turn.
So that'll be really good. And so just before we go, how do people get hold of you? What's the website and things like that?
So we're getting it all built at the moment, actually.
Yeah.
So I can't decide too much on that. We have the
Okay.
same number, so it's 01273 75 1111, or email. It'll be ryan@doublemedia.co.uk, and the website will be doublemedia.co.uk.
Okay.
Well.
Perfect.
That's
Brilliant.
me.
Well, you know how to get hold of Ryan. If you need any sort of social media requirements of a large scale, not of posting on Facebook, so you can get in touch. But yeah, great to have you on, and see you in a year or two's time.
Lovely.
Well, actually sooner if I come on your podcast.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll see you soon.
Thanks a lot. So I hope that was really useful for everybody. And as you can see, there are lots of things that Ryan wants to do, and he's got some really big expansion plans, but he just needs to focus on those things and make sure that he actually targets an audience that is scalable. He's in a very crowded market, and it's really easy just to go, I'll pick up all the small clients and the rest of it. He needs those big scalable clients to assist him, but he also has to be wary that he can't have somebody that's making that more than kind of 10-15% of the business. So I hope that's been really, really useful to you. Some good tips there about growing beards and wearing glasses if you didn't take anything else away from the podcast. So I hope that's really good. Stay tuned for some more podcasts like that, some really interesting guests coming up. And don't forget, if you are listening on Audible, you can listen to all of the back catalogue, or if you are listening on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. Check out all of the other videos that we do. We've got lots of information on just general entrepreneurship, property journeys, or more podcasts. And if you want to come on the podcast, don't forget to head over to our website, matthewcox.biz. That's Matthew with 2 T's as always, and fill in the form and get on the show.